before we return to any scenes, we need to wrap up something from last session for Elined, actually. And Elined, you are on the path of kings. Your word is your honor and your life. You have a strict code of ethics, and one of the most sacred rituals to adherence on your road is oath swearing. And earlier this year, in 1455, you swore an oath to Prince Ragnar of loyal service. And by betraying her leverage to Cormac and Judith, you broke that oath.
Time to become a rebel.
This is a level 1 sin to the Via Regalis. So I'm going to give you a choice. Per the rules, you can roll your conviction at a difficulty of 10 to save any road loss. But if you botch, you will lose 2 points on your road. Or I can spare you the roll and you may take 1 automatic loss from your road.
I have to believe that was a conscious choice, and she likes us better than Ragnar.
That is, in fact, true, so I will take the 1.
Alright. So you may deduct a point from your road for violating your oath.
To be fair, it was made to a bitch. I mean, what?
So we will now return to Robert de Vere in the fall of 1455. In Canterbury, your new contact, the now undead Cornelius, is reconnecting with his spies, and you are seeking a cure to Guillaume's madness. In your quest, you seek out the truly mad and find yourself about to enter the Asylum of the Prince, Inner Tower. You've reached the iron wrought door as before. Do you proceed in?
I do.
Alright. So you enter the tower as before, with Guy de Free at your side. And soon after stepping in, you have to step out of the way, as near the entrance there seems to be some kind of commotion. This man with messy, disheveled, dark hair and a gaunt face is being dragged away by 2 others. His head's shaking back and forth. He's mumbling something to himself. He's wrapped up in this white cloth sheet bound up around him. You see a dark urine stain around the lower half. The 2 men are in these simple brown robes. They seem to be carrying him off further up the tower. And as he passes by, the scene ahead of you clears. You see the small form of Octavia, the child prince, bouncing a small infant gently in her arms, wrapped up in a swaddle, the child's head over her shoulder faced away, looking like a young nanny. She stares ahead at the space between you and Guy, but gestures for you to come forth.
Robert does, giving her the proper respects of her station.
Guy looks uncomfortable as he follows you. He looks around at the faces and the sounds coming from higher up in the tower. What kind of place did you say this was, Master de Vere?
For you, a place of healing.
I don't remember much healing happening the first time I was here. He looks reluctant as he follows you further in. But you get close enough to speak to Octavia, who's still bouncing this baby. She looks you and Guy over with a scrutinizing glance. You return.
Yes, my prince.
For what purpose?
This is the one I spoke of that needs healing of the mind. And Robert motions to Guy.
His eyes are still lingering up further in the tower where you withdrew him from the past. He seems almost struck. He doesn't immediately react to your gesture or the words being said of him. It takes him a few moments to snap out of it before he looks back to Octavia, who's examining him again. Yes. The fractures of pattern are upon him. He is not so broken as you would think, but different. You wish for this to be undone.
Yes, and I believe Guy would as well.
Guy looks between the two of you. He tries to put on a strong front, but is failing. Madness only grows. It may move as a volume of water, but it shall never evaporate. Would you take his change to spare him this fracture?
What do you mean, Shirley? You do not mean to take on his madness.
It must go somewhere.
Yes, it should. Is there no other vessel that could be used?
We are quite full of fracture here in this tower. There are none without, except now you, Lord DeVere. I see only one vessel in this tower.
Then it must be one without fractures already.
She nods her head.
I can think of little better justice to bring in one that has caused him to suffer such torments, and perhaps shift the weight onto them.
This would be a balanced exchange. But you are still followed by shadow, a curse which haunts your step, as you were before.
Yes, as was mentioned before. And tell me, do you see the shadow growing, or any change in it?
It waits. I suspect you will not wish to see what it may conjure if you wait long.
What ties between the shadow and me do you see?
Easier would it be for me to describe the fracture your companion faces than elaborate the trail of curse which surrounds you.
Well, that certainly sounds troubling. Nothing on any origin or such. Have you seen anything of its like before?
It has an infernal taint to it.
At this, Robert looks as though the gears have finally clicked, and he nods slowly. I see.
She seems to turn her head as though looking at you, perhaps looking at something around you. More. There are pieces of you hidden to me, untouched by shadow, but nothing which stands before me is hidden. And yet, you bear the marks of other alteration. These truths conflict. What alteration have you endured upon your mind?
I suppose feelings of great loss, as I'm sure any other has also experienced. I do not think it as being noteworthy.
No. You lack something. As a puzzle misses its final piece, yet a string draws away from your emptiness. You could not speak its name if you desired. There is another which draws this piece from you. sense an awareness. You know why this was drawn from you.
Out of character, is there a way for Robert to figure out what she's speaking of?
It sounds like she's alluding to a memory or a thought that you either can't think of or won't think of, which is not entirely in your control. Do you have enigmas?
Nope.
Then you aren't sure what this Cassandra is speaking of.
I'm afraid you have me completely lost. I know not of what you speak.
Of course you do not. You are bound not to speak its words. Yet I wonder what deal was struck for you to agree to this. There are many secrets I need not ever know. I would ask you this. Do you still serve the good of the Covenant?
That I at least can say is my goal.
How truthful is Robert being right now? What's going through his mind?
Other than having issues with Ragna, which he would be half truthful about, he does view himself as serving the will of the Covenant.
Alright. Make a perception awareness roll, difficulty 6. You can only make this roll because you have Auspex, so you cannot lower difficulty. One success. You feel an outside force manipulating or handling your mind, your memories. You find yourself thinking of things that you weren't really thinking of before. You're thinking of Ragna briefly, then you're thinking of Dorothy, and then you find yourself thinking of the conspiracy you've been a part of, the one which you cannot speak of. You do feel that perhaps something is trying to find something in your mind.
Is this similar to the sensation of when he probes the minds of mortals?
It is not, because you probing another mind is not the same sensation as having your mind probed. You don't know what this is, although you have had your mind invaded in the past. The first time you came to this court. And it's not unlike that experience.
Robert will briefly shake his head. Is such a thing necessary?
yourself does not endanger yourself.
Oh, I have no doubt that this would be most dangerous. But to the will of the Covenant as a whole, nothing but loyalty.
She continues to stare at you with those uncomfortable, unblinking blue eyes.
Robert frowns a bit at being under this gaze.
Safe travels to you, Robert, and please do return should you find your companion's assailant. The exchange remains to be had.
But of course, many thanks. Robert will bow before he takes his leave, motioning to Guy.
She briefly returns to bouncing this baby over her shoulder as you turn, and Guy again seems caught, perhaps by her gaze, and it takes a couple seconds for him to react again, and he follows you out hurriedly. Begging your party, Master Devere, I truly hope that's the last time we have to return.
Nonsense, you have not gotten any healing.
Would not prayer do the same?
You tell me, have you been praying?
I must admit, I have not in some time. But, he just shakes his head as he kind of follows behind. That little girl, I cannot help but wish to flee from her. That whole place.
This emotion you're feeling is understandable. It truly is. But we are in the city known for prayer. And if you would like to try such a thing before going through a more different measure, then by all means you are free to attempt.
I will try. I feel so far from God. Will you pray with me, Master Devere?
Robert blinks a few times at this. Well, if it will help ease you, I suppose, why not give it a shot?
It brings a smile to his face. You don't see that very often anymore. And so the two of you make your way out of the tower and out of the Hospital of St. Thomas, back into the night. What next are Robert's plans? For tonight and going forward.
Going forward in the city, Robert's main plan would be to somehow corner one of the men that he remembers from the bar. He assumes that they frequent it, and an opportunity would present itself. Other than that, he would, of course, check.
Check with what?
He would check how the spying is going.
Okay.
Most of his efforts will be to avoid as much attention as possible, as they still do have a description of him, and Guy as well.
That's true. In what order do you do that? Do you try and find one of the men that was watching you, or do you check in with Cornelius and his spy network first?
Probably try to corner one of these thugs first, alone and outside of the inn. Perhaps even like watching the entrance from outside of, certainly outside of mortal range, using enhanced senses. But he would wait an opportune moment to corner one of these men and bring him over to the tower. Then he would check on the spy, because he assumes this will take some time itself.
And you're staying where right now? At one of the local inns?
I believe that is where he has been staying. I do not know of any new place that has been offered up, or is there?
Well, Cornelius obviously has come into quite a bit of coin, and so he quickly gets himself established in one of the manor homes of Canterbury, and he does invite you. If you wish to stay there, you may as well.
That makes sense to him. Of course, anytime he's leaving or coming or going, he's on high alert that he has no one following him.
Mm-hmm. So if you are going to be in that much close proximity to Cornelius, do you tell him of any of your plans of finding one of these men to corner?
Yeah, thinking on it, he would know that perhaps one of these men are indeed one of the spies. He would let him know what he had in mind.
When you talk to Cornelius about your plans, he warns you not try to get into any kind of confrontation, not to try one of these, cornering one of these men or finding them, as it may draw more attention to you and could backfire significantly. He cautions you to wait and be patient until he can get the report from all of his spies back. Although that could take a couple months.
If it's suspicion on himself, he'll soothe Cornelius's concerns and say he'll be fine. He won't let himself be cornered nor attract attention to the manor.
He continues to say he's not worried about the manor so much as he's concerned that... He is concerned about the manor, but more concerned that if you're a known face, and you and your companions have been attacked in this city before, and you go out and try to corner one of the men who might have been watching or even involved in Elined's attack, they might have more than even you can handle. But in the end, he defers to letting you decide for yourself.
Of course, Robert has his ways of dealing with mortals, so he'll give him a cocky grin and tell him not to worry as he goes to set out his plan.
Alright. So you go out, setting off on your plan. Of course, this won't be the same night. It will take some time before you hope to encounter this man, if he does indeed frequent the same tavern that you're hoping he will. And so for now, the scene will fade, with you in the doorway of the manor of Cornelius, leaving back into the night with your cocky grin, and him shaking his head in the doorway. So we change scenes. Returning to a deep and dark underground sepulcher. The tomb of the Breton king, Kinflin, and the keeper of the tomb, the Cappadocian elder Dionysus, and his hundreds of dead servants. Elined and Cormac, you had just narrowly convinced Dionysus of your beneficence, when from the back of the chamber you hear the familiar voice call out, "I think perhaps you will not have such good news to bring." A distant lantern light approaches from the back.
Elined will put a hand on the hilt of her sword.
What does Cormac do?
Cormac's face twists into a growl, seeing who's approaching. "You deceitful bastard."
Although he is distant, you do recognize the Venetian Ludovico Giovanni, and see that he is actually accompanied by two others. At a distance, it appears to be a man in a black doublet and hat, a woman in a white and red dress. Calling across the chasm, across this space, Dionysus looks from the elevated dais. "You have made a ruinous misstep by treading this ground, Giovanni. One your master will not be able to save you from." And as he says this, the braziers lighting the path which you passed begin to burst into flames, sickly bluish-green flames lighting the way in the pathway from here to there, to the entrance, revealing the masses of the walking dead, as they all turn their attention from you and toward Ludovico, their many collective joints creaking and grinding. You may find we are not so unseasoned as you would guess, old one. And to my friends among the Covenant's gauntlet, I must thank you for your aid.
We aided you in nothing, you snake.
He grins as he bows. The Dionysus glares at you briefly.
The most aid we gave him, my lord, is that they followed us here.
Join me in putting this decrepit thing in the ground. You will find a very powerful ally in La Casa di Giovanni. Hear him call across the chamber again, over the dead.
I would rather see myself die than side with you.
Very regretful. And from behind Ludovico, another figure is seen emerging into the light of the green braziers in the lantern. At first, you aren't sure whom this person coming forward is, but the dark hue of his skin recalls him from your meeting with the council. Anafnamtat, the Easterner, arrives at the side of Ludovico and calls to you. Gauntlet Lords, I am regretful to see you at the side of one who protects the greatest enemies of my kind, an ancient of the Temple of Sutek, a serpent of the greatest evil. You must allow us to destroy him and his guardian.
Say it's not so. They've poisoned your mind.
He shakes his head. It is the truth, my friends. I wish we had more time to speak of this. But that creature in that tomb cannot be allowed to raise.
Is there truth to his words, Dionysus?
Lies. I protect no serpent. Your aura is deceptive, Moor. And if you stand with the Venetian, you will join his spirit in bondage here. What is Elined doing at this time?
She is carefully watching the intruders, waiting for any move that can be used against them. Anything that... Can I look around the area and see if there's anything I can use for my own tactical advantage should this come to combat, which I believe it's going.
What are you looking for in particular? Or what's an example of what you're looking for?
They're already past the choke point, so that's out of the question. Are there any stalactites or anything that, if hit just the right way, could come crashing down on them, or anything of that?
Because there's more light in here from these green braziers being lit up, it is a little bit easier to see the area around you. You can see that the walls on every side go up almost out of sight, and they're lined with countless burial receptacles carved into the wall. You can't quite see the ceiling, however. Unless you had some way to heighten your senses.
No, I do not have auspex.
Given your knowledge of tactics, I'll say that you think you have the best position you can have at the top of this raised dais, where you have some high ground, but it is very exposed. Actually, give me a perception alertness difficulty 8. If you're just looking around generally to get the scene.
That I am, now that it's lit up, so... what was the diff again?
8.
And
Yes,
specialty
detail-oriented
applies.
is very important here. So 3 successes. A couple things. One thing more curious than useful. Further behind you, you can see where actually this chamber probably ends, and perhaps even where Dionysus was coming from. On the wall, you notice what looks like the outline of a doorway, almost. At least it's doorway size and shaped in dark, almost black-red paint of some kind. And at the entrance you came out of, where you see Ludovico and his companions, above the archway, the stone there looks like it has more fracture points. Everything you've seen up until now looks like either one large hunk of stone or long, heavy slabs, and this area looks like it has more smaller fractures and of much higher frequency. You might be able to close it off or cave it in if you wanted to. Or if they wanted to.
If I cave it in, are they far and back enough that it will shut them out?
Yes, they're far enough into the chamber that it would. It would also seal everyone inside. So far as you know about this chamber.
How many feet apart are the people?
Not very. They're maybe 20 or 25 feet out from the entrance on this trail of braziers leading up to you. And as a group, they probably fit into a 10-foot diameter circle.
All right. With that noted, because she doesn't really intend to get sealed in this place, She is going to use Nocturne, the shadow cloud, to obscure their vision, hopefully giving the elder here time to vacate. If he chooses to, or if not, he has a good sneak attack opportunity.
Okay. So just before you do that, you do hear Enough Namtet call out to you again. I implore you, both of you, reconsider your... But just as you begin to prepare to focus your vitae and summon this Nocturne, he is cut off and you're distracted by the air changing in this great chasm that you can now see. There is a kind of gust forming that is almost visible, like a gale of dust that has somehow made it inside and is beginning to form a vortex at the upper edges of the chamber. It brings a warmth, almost like a breath, the faint, woodsy scent to it. Enough Namtet's voice echoes off the wall as he turns to Ludovico and expresses something quickly in Italian. My friends, if you do not step aside, this place will become your tomb. And there are many answers which I may provide you about the Mercers and the Covenant.
If you were going to do that, you would have done it already.
I cannot predict the future. This is new information. Please, I beg of you.
Cormac looks unsure.
Tell me, was that information given by the Giovanni?
No. You are hopelessly outnumbered, Giovanni, and now your souls will never leave this pit. Dionysus begins to raise his hands forward as the hordes of the dead begin marching forward toward the group gathered. And now you may make your roll.
With that... It is 10 feet per success. So 30 feet.
Alright. You create a large cloud of darkness centered on this group. This army of the dead is marching forward at a slow but steady pace. A few moments later, you see Ludovico emerge ahead of the darkness. Along with these two others, you do not see an Alpha. And you are outdated. see all three of them start to move together, as though moving in unison. Their hands go up, their fingers crossed and curled in, moving as one. The three open their mouths and speak silent words. An aberrant chill pulses toward you, an echo of voices from beyond this world, filling the chamber. The cyclone of air seems to grow in speed. And to your horror, as the hordes of the dead, clambering towards Ludovico, begin to pause one after another, as though something washes over them, a new glow in their eyes, pale green embers, and they begin turning around, as though possessed by some energy. What unholy things, Giovanni? How many souls have you put under your throne? I think perhaps the numbers favor me more than you, Cappadocia. Last chance, my friends. Join us in removing them and be rewarded, or join them in destruction. The hordes of the dead are now turning against you. You see them start to march forward with more agility, more speed than before. The bones cracking as skeletal hands come out. Roll initiative.
I don't wanna.
Giovanni act as one footnote, so they will share an initiative. Go ahead and re-roll your initiative for that. Dead will go last. Alright. Dionysus is first. In his horde, he's going to try and regain control of these dead. Which will be resisted. You can see Dionysus is straining, trying to change something as the dead are no longer moving like mindless corpses shambling forward, but now seem animated by more like an army of souls. They seem to have more creativity in their movements. He seems unable to regain control. What are Cormac and Elined's intentions this turn?
If we take out the casters, we may stop the army.
Cormac's supposed to be higher.
Yes, Cormac has higher initiative than me, but he is oddly silent.
Cormac is really torn on this one. On the one hand, he doesn't want to die, but on the other hand, he doesn't trust this Giovanni. He seriously considers for a moment going to attack Dionysus, but then decides against. He's going to leap into the hordes of undead and try to get to the Giovanni.
Okay. And Elined, what do you say you're going to try and do this turn?
Her intentions are going to have some of those shadow tendrils reach out and try to restrain the Giovanni.
Okay. So we'll have you go faster than Noph and Cormac. So you are jumping into the hordes of the undead as they march forward at alarming speed towards the dais. They'll be charging up it very soon. So your goal is to make your way through them to the Giovanni?
Yes, well, leap over them if he can. He's got enough potence that his leaps are incredible.
Alright, you've got about 200 feet to clear. That's quite a chasm. I will need 20 successes in a strength athletics from you.
Wait, there's an actual hole in the floor now?
I'm sorry, I said chasm, I meant cavern.
Oh, well, he'll make it as far as he can anyway.
Okay.
Every success is 10 feet or something?
Yeah, we'll go approximately with that.
Okay. Then here we go. What was the difficulty?
Standard difficulty.
He falls off.
You don't make it very far. Jumping from the dais proves a little bit awkward for you, and you really just end up jumping right in front of this horde of the undead as they march forward. And looks like they are going to come at whatever's closest, which happens to be you now.
That dice have betrayed me.
Anaf Nantet seems to be speaking something under his breath. I'll be rolling for you. Elined, you are looking out towards the group beyond this Horde of the Dead from the elevated dais, and you start to notice that from the shadows, an asp slithers forward, and then another, and then several dozen, almost coming from the darkness itself. These serpents are quickly slithering up the dais towards you. At alarming speed. They haven't reached you yet, but you know they are definitely going for you now. They'll be there in a couple of seconds. You think there's just no end to them from the darkness. Dozens upon dozens of these dark black snakes, these asps, are slithering out of seemingly nowhere. The Giovanni as a whole, maintaining their control in a contested battle against Dionysus. They are spent. Which brings us to you, Elined. You are about to be overwhelmed by asps. What do you do?
Still gotta go with the initial plan.
Alright, I'm gonna need a self-control roll from you. Difficulty 7 to remain focused as you are about to be onset by these asps. By the time you're actually about to focus this, they're reaching you and you can feel them wrapping up at your ankles.
Actually, that was supposed to be 3d10. Whoopsie. There.
Alright, 3 successes. You maintain control. You may act as you would like. Alright. And what are you doing with these shadow tendrils exactly?
I am attempting to restrain the Giovanni. Break apart their arms specifically, since the hand movements seem to be linked to whatever magics they're using.
Alright, so the goal is for them to... Are you aiming them at one Giovanni in particular?
Let's see. It'd probably be better if I did, yes. It would limit their chances against the Elder.
Okay, which of these do you target? The Ludovico to his left is this...
Ludovico, because he's the one we know, and he is a douchebag.
Okay.
And each of them has a total of 5 strength die, with a total of 15 strength dice to use against.
Okay. Roll your... Can you roll? So yeah, you can roll your 15 strength die for all these arms coming out to wrap around Ludovico. Alright. They're gonna get a good clinch on him. So he is going to be grabbed up by that, and he'll have to fight that off next turn. Lastly, the dead move forward. And they are going to surge forward at you, Cormac. They are quickly going to surround you, like a swarm.
And ignore him completely, right? Right?
Not gonna happen. I need you to roll your soak.
Is that the damage right there?
No, that's the attack, but I'm about to roll damage. Oh, I forgot a difficulty. That is one success, which you soaked. So you can tell these skeletal dead begin to assault you, and individually they're not very strong, but more are going to come every moment. So for the moment you've been able to deal with their bites and claws and scratches, which is definitely unnerving to you, as you know more are on the way, many more. But for now, you're holding out. Dionysus will try again to regain control. Unfortunately, wresting control from these wraiths is much harder than maintaining it. Giovanni has been reduced in strength. Dionysus seems to have some luck. Cormac, you can sense there's a change, there's a battle for these dead between perhaps the wraiths and Dionysus or other forces. It's not entirely clear to you what's happening, but this is not certainly determined yet. It seems as though some of the dead are now fighting others of the dead. You can see the green in their eyes disappear in some, while others battle, as though a civil war is breaking out in front of you. And that brings us back to you. You're in the midst of this mayhem. Some of them are attacking you, and others are being attacked by other skeletal combatants. You're in the midst of a melee of the dead now.
He's convinced that though these creatures are frightening, they are just skeletons. They weren't able to break through his marble hard skin. So he's going to attempt to bull rush through them towards the Giovanni, using all his potence, bringing his strength to bear.
Alright. You're still going to need 20 successes on strength athletics to barrel your way through.
Which is fine, it can be extended, I assume?
Yes.
Okay. I am burning blood to strength then.
Okay.
2 for now. Difficulty standard?
Yes. Wow. Any specialties here?
No, I do not.
Okay, still
That's mostly potence.
8 successes is a lot. You quickly start to pummel your way, and you see that there's still a good number of these undead which still want to strike out at you, but a number are starting to fight back, and that actually helps you a bit. So we're going to count your 8 successes as 10, because some of the dead are making way for you and taking out obstacles. So you're at 10 successes because of their help. So now enough and Tet's turn. this is not working very well. Try something else. Wow. He's not having any success. Enough Nimtet wastes his time trying to focus on Cormac, but it's difficult because Cormac's head is down and it's difficult to see him. Whatever he's trying to do, it's not working very well. Gianna and Vittore are busy. The Giovanni as a whole, except for Ludovico, we're trying to wrest control of the dead. Ludovico is trying to break out of these tendrils, which will be difficult. Successes, not enough. These tendrils scored 7, so they maintain their grip. And they're gonna start crushing him, because I'm assuming that's the goal here, Elined, is for them to crush him and hold him.
Yep.
Okay. So actually, I'll let you roll their strength in damage. 15 dice, I believe. Ones don't take away, so that's actually 7. So because bashing is split in half rounded downs, that's still 3 bashing Ludovico takes after everything's said and done. So these tendrils have got a very good squeeze on him. Bones are snapping. He's down to injured. Alright, it is your turn again. I'm going to need another self-control roll. At this point, the asps are slithering up your body, up your skirt and around your body, wrapping themselves around you. You are almost overcome by these snakes, these serpents that are coiling about. You need another self-control roll. The book is going to be 8 now. You managed to get through it. You're focused and determined. You will not be distracted by these serpents.
Are these snakes... do they seem like they're trying to bite or anything? Or just coiling?
You don't notice any biting. They just seem to be coiling. Distracting, but not apparently dangerous, now that you realize. The dead now surround Cormac.
Did the shadows count for my turn?
Oh, you succeeded. So yeah, you still have a turn.
Alright, second verse, same as the first. I'm targeting the Lady Giovanni this time.
Are there any rules about targeting multiple people with these?
I believe you have to cast it each time, but outside of that, not that I know of.
Then I'm gonna say you have to focus on a target, or unless you want to change targets to somebody else.
Alright, not gonna do that then.
Otherwise you could make thousands of these.
I know!
So yeah, I'm gonna say if you change targets, the others will revert to the darkness.
I'll deal with Ludovico first. But with sword drawn, I will go into the fray and head towards the Giovanni.
Okay. So you charge in, and the dead, which seem to be a mixture of friend and foe now, surround Cormac. Cormac, give me a percentile roll, 1d100. Okay. Thank you for that. Alright, you're not taking any damage from any of these skeletons that you're barreling past. Fortunately, many of them happen to be on your side or not interested in you at this point, so you are under very great threat. The ones that do seem to bite and claw at you and tear at your clothes don't actually do much pain or damage to you, fortunately. Dionysus is going to continue to try and wrest control from the rest of them. The battle continues with a little more progress. Many of these walking dead are still on your side, but it doesn't look like they all are yet. Cormac, you're about halfway through this army of the dead, this field of chaos. You can see somewhat through the battle. It looks like perhaps Ludovico's been coiled up in black tendrils. The other two Giovanni are trying to stay focused on this ritual, and Enough Nantet seems to be trying to intone quiet things, but you're not sure what he's doing exactly. What do you do?
Alright. I am burning blood to celerity now.
Okay.
This time. And I'm using all my actions to get through this.
Okay.
I realize celerity actions come at the end of the round.
In Dark Ages, you can do it now. The thing is, you'll be doing it. Your actions will start at -1 dice, and then every
-3.
the difficulty will not be changed.
Okay, cool. Then I will make all 3 now.
Next one's going to be 8 dice. 7.
Not terrible.
7 successes in a few seconds. You make much of the remaining distance. Describe Cormac as he zips past this battle of the dead amidst these lit green braziers.
Cormac has had enough of these Giovanni and their dark magic. He doesn't even like that this elder here is corrupting the dead in such a way, so he decides he's going to end it as quickly as possible. Summoning up his blood, he moves forward in a blur, shoving aside those who would get in his way. His eyes ever forward on the blackness grabbing at Ludovico.
Alright, you are almost there. Tet has perhaps one more chance.
Fuck, sorry. Technical issues.
Sure,
So what
so
exactly is he doing?
Are you back?
Yes, I'm back in here.
Alright. Anophnantat seems to be focusing something, ritualizing some kind of intonation, and he is focused on you. You can see him better now. His eyes are on you. And you see there's a power behind his eyes. And you feel as you're moving very quickly, and you meet his eyes and get closer, your limbs stop. Feeling a paralysis take over, even as this battle rages around you. You do not feel like you can move at all. It's as though there's a coldness in your vitae that slows it, coagulating it into solid something that freezes you in place. And you look on with horror, not more than 30 feet away from Anophnamtet and the Giovanni. Gianna and Vittori continue to hold control of what they have left of this army. Ludovico, I forgot, had fortitude. So he's not.
That's okay. I also forgot that it's strength +1 for the Shadow Tendrils attack.
So Ludovico's still breaking out, but he's not nearly as damaged as I thought he was. Roll the 15 dice again.
Technically it'd be 16, strength +1.
Oh, 16?
I completely forgot about the +1 in the previous.
Go for it. I want to be 4. 7 will do it. He's not going anywhere this turn. You are charging into the dead, which you see now on closer look. There are some who continue to have this lit green ember, this unholy flame in their eyes, and some of them seem like they were before. This battle is continuing in front of you as you charge forward. What do you do?
I spend 1 blood point for trying to charge up that tenebrous form, which is going to take me 3 turns to do, but I'm still going to head on forward while I'm doing.
Okay. You're going to charge forward as you begin. It's a tenebrous avatar.
I'm going to charge up for it. I need to spend 3 for it, and that'll take me 3 turns.
Okay. Okay.
If I still have an action attached to that, it would just be to parry any attacks if they're headed her way.
I'm gonna say if you're moving and you're trying to... I'll let you do this. You can either parry as you move forward, or you can try and focus on making this transformation.
I'm gonna focus on the transformation.
Okay. Cormac, go ahead and roll me another percentile again. That's not good. I need you to roll soak. This is all damage now. Do you have any fortitude, or is that in there?
It's in there.
Okay. So to your horror, many of the skeletons in The Walking Dead here seem not to be friendly to you, and many of them are getting in claws and bites as they swarm you. And at the end of this, enough of them are on you that your paralyzed body falls beneath them as they swarm and pile on top of you. And you, in this few moments, have only taken one lethal, but this is getting very bad very quickly.
Oh. Oh shoot, I forgot to do Shadow Crush that last round.
You can still roll it. Well, actually, if you're...
It has one independent action.
Okay, yeah. You can roll it. So... Alright, so that's 4.5, or 4, yeah, 4.5, bashing roundhouse 4, he's soaked 4. This round he is not going to be taking any damage because I remembered he had fortitude, which he is spending blood to survive. So it's very much keeping him in place, and it's on the verge of crushing him. But by virtue of his blood, he is holding it together for now. Cormac, you are paralyzed. If you spend a willpower, you can fight through this for a turn.
Then so he shall. He's not going to die like a dog under all these.
Alright, you will have to get back up as they all pummel you, so I'll need a dex athletics difficulty. There were maybe 5 of them, but now you think there's 10 or 20 that are just on top of you. And it is very difficult, even with your might, to maneuver, just getting space to stand up. And you're not finding purchase right now. You don't have a specialty set here.
No.
Okay. Anopnemtet seems focused on you, although you really can't see much from down there, Cormac. His focus is entirely upon that. Giovanna and Victoria are still busy, as is Dionysus. Ludovico spent his turn trying to get out. That brings you to Elined. You return into your transformation. You are now entering the undead, which are going to be starting to strike at you now. Still spending that turn, just transforming as you move through.
That I am, and I'm going to roll my Shadow Tendrils attack.
After you roll that, I'm going to need you to give me a Dex Athletics.
That's going to be easy for him to soak.
Also need Dex Athletics for you to maneuver through this army. Did suck it. Alright, so you're starting to make progress. Making your way through. But you aren't going to be doing much defending yourself, so you are going to take damage from this turn. Give me a percentile roll.
Oopsie.
Roll your soak. Alright, you're gonna soak this for now. At the outskirts it's not so bad, but you think the further you get in, it could get a lot worse. Dionysus is still trying to regain control. Although you suspect this could be a lot more brutal if they weren't busy fighting each other. That's really good. He's going to make some headway this turn. So Dionysus is slowly regaining control of some of the dead. The loss of Ludovico's addition to the Giovanni magic seems to have definitely made a difference here. Now we have Cormac. You are on the ground being pummeled by the dead. Once again, you can try to push out of this paralysis. It will cost another willpower point, and you will have to get up.
Alright, he will try. He has a will to live that will not die. Strength plus athletics, you said? Or dex?
It is to get up. Dex athletics. I'm sorry, difficulty 6, not 8. Try that. Alright, you can act this turn and try to burst forward if you want.
His celerity is still active, right?
You can activate it for extra turns this turn.
Oh, that's... Yeah, I'm sorry. It's not... What am I thinking? Yeah, I will do that.
Okay.
He needs to get there now. Alright, so he's going to use his first action to try to burst through the rest of the way. How many more successes do I need? It was like 3?
3 more.
I forgot the roll already.
Strength athletics, since you're barreling your way through.
Right. Oh, shit. I forgot that I had spent. So I actually have 11 dice, which will now turn into 10. Because I have 5 strength right now from the 2 blood I spent.
Okay. And you feel this paralysis is going to come right back after this few seconds, so make it count. 6 successes, you pierce through the other side of this army of the dead. More of it seems to be turning back, not against you, but against other skeletal warriors. You make it through. You see Anath Mentet, you see the 2 Giovanni accompanying Ludovico, who is fighting against these tendrils, these large black arms that are wrapped around him. Anath Mentet's eyes are focused on you intently.
No, they're not going to be when I behead him. He's going to use an action to attack him.
Alright, so this will be at -2 dice.
Right. Dex plus melee. What the hell, I'm spending some blood to Dex too.
As long as it's within your generation.
Just 1. Clear on. If I spend blood to use slurry actions, do I lose the extra dice as well?
You cannot use your celerity dice for dex actions if you already used it for
For
extra
the
actions.
speed. Okay, that's what I thought. So yeah, spending blood. Sword is 7 difficulty?
You're just doing a standard attack, or are you calling a shot?
No, standard attack.
6. Is that your attack?
That was my attack.
Okay.
So plus 3 dice on damage.
Yes. Let me see if he has any crazy things I need to know about that I forgot.
That's a pretty solid hit.
Looks like it. All right. Soak for him. 5 on the damage, you got 8 on the soak. Your sword connected very well. Oh, did you roll 1s in your damage? Because you shouldn't be putting 1s in damage.
No, it shouldn't be. Oh, I didn't roll as a damage roll, you're right.
So adding 4 to that, that's 9 successes in damage. So he soaked 8 of that, netting 1 lethal. So the hit that you gave him, you know, you're a warrior, you know what that should have done. It should have cleaved a man in half. And instead, it barely pierced his skin. And upon closer look, when you see the skin that you cut through his heavy robes, it's modeled and scaled. There's something not right about him.
Awesome.
He is spending this time focusing his stare at you. You can feel the paralysis is going to reset in very soon. Gianna and Vittoria are losing the battle against Dionysus to keep control of the dead. They haven't fully lost it yet. Vico is still trying to get out of this black tendril.
Contested grapple?
Yes. Dice to break that, so he's not going to get out this turn. You are moving further in to the fields of the dead. I'll need another Dex Athletics from you to make progress. I believe this is going to be...
For that, I have Shadow Crush to do.
Yes.
I do not avoid the corpses.
You'll be soaking the 3 bashing. You've kept him locked down. The crushing damage is not enough for his vampiric body. You're not able to get through any more of these walking dead.
But I spend my final blood, and now I am a shadow form.
Let me read that
Well,
over
final
again.
blood for the tenebrous form.
Not deal with some damage. Okay. Alright. So the dead won't be impacting you much because of your tenebrous avatar. And
Yep, my goal as the shadow is to get over there as quickly as I can.
Alright. And because Cormac did make it out of the fields of the dead, he's no longer dealing with that, so they aren't going to be passively beating on him anymore. Dionysus is occupied. control this without Ludovico. He is going to lose a lot of control. So Cormac, that brings us back to you. The paralysis has set back in, and you see that a briefly wounded Elined and Cormac was not nearly as injured as he should have been from the blow that you struck him.
Cormac's will is fading. He has very little left to give now. Even so, he's got Bruja blood. He's not going to let a little thing like paralysis get him down. He'll spend the last willpower that he can, bringing him down to 1.
Okay, you're gonna push through this. You're gonna fight for a turn to act.
Yes.
You got it.
And he's spending blood on celerity. And now he is near starving. He's seriously considering letting the beast take control here.
I'm gonna have you make a self-control roll with the battle about you and the beast so close to the surface. Self-control difficulty 7. Okay, you're barely holding on. You may not have so much luck next turn if you are able to act. But you're in control this turn, in this moment.
Alright, he's going to make 2 attacks versus nothing to his maximum.
Okay.
Oops, almost forgot to subtract that. Alright, there's number 1. And here comes damage 1. Oh shit!
So he's at 1 lethal right now. Let's see how he does after this.
Son of a bitch.
Alright, you're gonna net 2 lethal on him after that. Again, you know this should be cutting through multiple people. You are hacking at him, but it's like chopping into an old petrified tree, not a person. But he is now at 3 lethal.
He spins around, chopping him again.
Alright, 4 successes on the second swing. Oh wait, did you roll a difficulty?
What? Oh no. What the hell happened there?
I think you just missed the 6. Try it again.
Still 4 successes.
Same thing. Alright.
Alright, so that is 14 dice of damage. Here we go.
Okay.
This is a losing battle. I see he's only got a 5 difficulty, so +2.
Yeah, he's got a couple things going on. Whatever he is, it's very hard to cut down. Alright, and another 2 lethal. So you've got him down to mauled. So you're cutting away at him piece by piece. Even as he tries to hold up his hand, he's intoning something in an unknown language. And his eyes seem intent and heavy. But you are cutting away at him, and you can see in his eyes fear starting to take over.
With my last Solari action, I'm going to move behind him. Sure, he can easily turn, but I want to throw him off guard.
Okay, you can do that. No roll required. With the speed you're moving, you're able to at least do that.
Make him think I'm more dangerous than I really am.
Despite his wounds, he is continuing his focus. He continues this intonation even as his arm has been chopped almost all the way through, and he bears multiple gashes across his chest and side, even into his neck. Many of these cuts should have killed multiple men by now. Gianna's finally turned her attention away from the armies. She is going to move over to Cormac. Stepping away from this losing battle as the dead start to turn back against her. And she is cutting open her skin very quickly with a knife withdrawn. You can barely tell, Cormac, from your position near the ground behind Nafnamtet. You can see this figure you think is the woman moving over to you. What is your stamina?
Not including fortitude?
Nope.
5.
Alright, she brings her hand down to your sword hand, and you can feel something burn away at your hand. where your sword was gripped as it starts to deteriorate into ash. You have taken 1 aggravated unsoakable.
Okay.
Torre is losing the battle. Ludovico may also lose the battle. Have you roll to hold him in place, Elined?
Oh no!
He breaks free at the last moment. He manages, perhaps in a moment that you're distracted by other things going on, and the tendrils seem to loosen their grip briefly, just briefly enough for him to slip out. And having gotten out, he's going to get away from their reach. Spend that turn moving away. Elined, you still need to make your way through the dead, which will be easier now that you are a Tenebrous Avatar. It's just really a matter of speed, so give me a Dex Athletics, difficulty 4. Dead are no longer quite the obstacle they used to be. Okay. So gain another 40 feet or so in distance.
And for the shadow tendrils independent attack, well, independent action. Ludovico is out of reach now, yes, but he was nearby his other compatriot who is still doing the chant. I intend for the tendrils to go after him.
Can you see from down there?
No, but the tendrils have 1 independent attack. Well, 1 independent action.
Trying to think what's fair here. They have an independent attack, but they don't have any direction.
They act in concert as the character directs.
The character doesn't know what's going on.
Her main direction for them is still along the lines of to grapple, but the person who was being grappled and restrained is free. So it's a coin toss as to if it'll be allowed to switch to a different person with that action that was the command that was given to them.
I like that, actually. We'll just do a coin toss. We'll say, roll 1d10 highs. It's going to know enough, and you're going to have given enough of an intent and targets to select from that it can choose the next nearest.
Yep, I rolled 10.
Alright, fair enough. It'll go after the Torre this time, so you can roll its strength roll. Or I guess strength plus 1 in this case. Alright, got a solid grab on the remaining Giovanni. At this time, most of the dead are still busy fighting, although many of them have returned to Dionysus' control. Only a small faction near the front seems to remain loyal to the Giovanni. Cormac, at this time, you feel the paralysis lessen. It seems like something's distracted enough Nantet. Perhaps the wounds, or perhaps something else in the battle. You feel that you're free at this moment to do something.
He's going to look down at his hand that's disintegrated away into ash. And grab up his sword with the other arm, wincing in pain. Let's see if you're as tough as he is, bitch. And he's going to lay into Gianna.
Alright, go for it.
You need me to roll self-control again, because I'm down to 4 blood.
I will have you roll self-control. Same difficulty since you got a success last time. If you net 5, then you're good for this scene, but...
It was 7.
Yes. Alright, you're up to 3 successes. You're close to gaining full control. You are starving, but this is important enough to maintain a level head, so you can make your attack. I am going to add a difficulty since you're fighting with your offhand.
Right, I figured that.
Jaime Lannister style. Alright, it's gonna land. That's actually one more success because you added a one taking away, so that's 7 lethal. These Giovanni stand up pretty well. You get a good hit in, and she's not as sturdy as Anaf Nantet, but she does hold up against the attack. You end up netting lethal. No, 2 lethal, because you did 7. So you cut her in the side with a solid hit. One that should have cut more and gashed out, maybe her intestines. Her body seems to be holding together. Unfortunately, Anaf Nantet is behind you. Roll your fortitude. Alright. You feel something whip at your back, and it burns as it almost feels like lashes. Something emerges and you feel a tearing that almost erodes away your skin. It feels wet. You look briefly to see a long, forked snake-like tongue whipping out at you from Anafnantet.
Ah! Demon!
Gianna has been hurt. She has to deal with you. And as you're distracted from the attack from behind, Gianna gets a hold of most of your shoulder and your upper tricep, and you feel the burning, the same sensation tear away, disintegrating at your other arm, your sword dropping in a pile of ash as you take 4 aggravated. What is going through Cormac's mind in this moment of desperation and pain?
I'm sorry, I was just in the middle of an argument. What did I miss?
Oh, what was the last thing you heard?
I know that she was coming towards me, and that's the last thing I heard before someone came in here and started yelling at me.
Gianna came at you with the same palm bloodied and extended as you get whipped from behind, distracted by Anafnantet, recovering from your own attack. She grabs a hold of your shoulder and starts to burn away at your left limb until only ash falls and your sword falls in this pile of ash as you take 4 aggravated.
Cormac falls to his knees, feeling the pain traveling up his arm, and realizes that this is the point where he's going to die. His body has been completely crippled by all the damage that he's taken, and he falls to the ground, accepting death. He doesn't have the will to resist it.
Just making sure you can't soak this as minutes on it, because it seems pretty brutal.
I don't even want to at this point.
I'm not seeing anything specifically about not soaking, so I will have you soak your fortitude. Alright. You still lose your limb, it's 3 aggravated though. And this does look very bleak. Torre is trying to get out.
Cormac falls to his knees and closes his eyes, waiting for the final blow to come. He now has no arms with which to fight.
That shouldn't be difficult for your arms of Aramon to hold him down with. Roll the dice and you got 3 successes, but that's all you needed.
And their independent action will be to attempt to crush the guy.
Alright, roll it out. He's going to be able to soak this damage, thanks only to his fortitude. You still have a ways to go, Elined, as you pass through the dead. Though more and more you see that they're not fighting each other and moving as a whole back towards the entrance to the chamber.
Yep, still trying to get through them to get to my compatriot on the other side. If he's still there when I get there.
Alright. The dead can't hurt you since you're incorporeal. I'm gonna make another roll. I've actually missed I've missed 1 roll for something else. So I'm gonna need 2 rolls for this. Okay. And this one. Okay. So with Cormac, nearly destroyed on the ground, the army's marching forward and Elined with them. Vittore trying to fight against these tendrils. Gianna and Anafnamtet trying to finish off Cormac. All of these things happening in this moment are paused as the swirling of this vortex above you spins down like a tornado, concentrating on the stone sarcophagus, as though sucked inside through the slits of the cover piece from a severe storm-like speed until the last gasp is sucked in, and this draws the attention of even the dead. And all is silent and still for just a moment before this cover is obliterated from the inside and shatters outward in an explosion of light which blinds the sepulcher. It's as though the sun itself emerged for just a flash. The battle has stopped, as now standing inside this receptacle is a man. Short golden blonde hair and beard, partially wrapped in linen bandages, but most of the bandages torn or falling off. He stands now almost entirely nude. Somewhere in his mid-30s, pale white skin, but with health and radiance at the edges, surrounded with a balmy fragrance of sandalwood. It seems to fill the chamber. Elined, from amidst the dead, you can tell something has occurred from behind you. What is your reaction?
Her reaction is trying to get to her ally as quickly as possible. She can't really see much either way in this crowd.
And Cormac, you can vaguely tell something is happening beyond despite your pain.
And yet he cannot bring himself to care. He stays on his knees awaiting the death blow.
This linen-wrapped man looks out to the hordes of the dead, which seem stunned. They seem to have paused in their movement. He opens his mouth slowly to speak. His voice echoes out into the quiet chamber. The voice growing unnaturally, even as he finishes the last word. It transforms, it becomes a deafening howl. Those few walking corpses which still defied, maybe 30 or 40 towards the end, seemed to fall crumbling to bones. And slowly all of the other skeletal figures start to fall apart. Whatever animating them seems to wear off, until the field is clear of nothing but debris. Now it is much more visible to both of you what is happening here. The army gone. What does Elined do here, now that this army seems to be gone, both sides of it?
Can she see the state that Cormac's in right now?
Well, you can see everything now. The braziers still light the hall, and you can see that everything at the beginning of the chamber is as it was.
Any interest in this newcomer is secondary to going and supporting her ally.
You do note that sometime after this flash of light, your tendrils seem to have disappeared. Perhaps burned away or otherwise shriveled into the darkness. And Cormac?
Cormac, expecting any moment to be killed and not being, chances to open one eye, and then the other, and a look of powerful confusion crosses over his face. Fuck me. He simply watches the scene unfold. as Elined approaches him.
You hear some kind of conversation happening briefly between Anaf Nemtet and Ludovico. You do not speak Italian, correct?
No.
Alright, you don't know what they're saying, but I will give you a chance maybe to get the emotion or intent behind it. Take a perception, empathy, difficulty 9. Alright. You are not sure what was said or even the emotion behind it. This man, whoever he is or whatever he is stepping out of this stone receptacle and moving in a direction towards all of you, as most of you are now gathered closer towards the entrance, although Dionysus stands stepping out of the way. Anaf Nemtet curses something in a language that you're unfamiliar with, and you hear the sound, some kind of hiss from him. Something is whipping out from his mouth again, quickly. You have just enough warning to think that you might be able to do something about this. You are expecting he may come down on you with this forked tongue again.
You're talking about Cormac?
Yes.
Can I get over there in time to engulf Enough with my tenebrous?
You have made less than half the successes, so you would need more than 10 on a Dex Athletics. I don't think you have the dice for that.
Yeah, I only have 4 dice.
So Cormac, you, because you're aware enough, even despite your pain, you have one chance, if you aren't mentally broken by this, to survive what you think might be the last strike.
He is mentally broken, but then again, this guy is cow dung. So, with his last bit of strength, he will attempt to roll out of the way for the dodge.
Alright, have you roll your Dex Athletics?
It's not going to go well, given that I'm at -2 dice, but... What difficulty? 6?
Yeah, standard difficulty, but I think you're going to have quite a penalty.
Nope.
He also is wounded, so he may not do so great himself, because you did cut him away quite a bit. He is at mauled. soak.
This is lethal.
This is aggravated. Or, I'm sorry, yeah, fortitude.
Just fortitude, okay.
And that is 2 aggravated.
Alright. Cormac burns away to ash.
Unfortunately so. In a flash of movement, those last moments, Anafnamtet's serpent-like tongue whips out like a blade, cutting down Cormac before he turns to flee. Running back in the direction of the entrance.
Oh, he's not getting away that easily.
Go ahead.
Are there any shadows nearby that I can use to create more tendrils, or did the sunlight do away with that? Or the fake sunlight?
It seems to have been only a flash, although this man seems to have an unnatural radiance about him. The shadows have returned, so much of this chamber is dark again.
Alright, I didn't do that before because I thought the shadows were gone. Oh, no, it doesn't work.
Not a botch, but no successes. You spend your time trying to focus, and in your last moments at such distance, and so exhausted, you're unable to draw the tendrils out where you need them. You see Anafnamtet disappear into the shadows. The Giovanni are quickly following after them. After him, I should say. Fleeing whatever this man is. Are you going to chase after them? Or what will Elined do? What is her reaction to this?
Elined is largely processing what just happened. But she will attempt to pursue them. However, she's a significant ways back. Though her goal right now is not the Giovanni, but the one who's struck down her coterie member.
So you continue on after them, intended for Saboteur?
Yes, I will attempt to summon the shadow tendrils again to attempt to restrain enough.
Alright. So you will be going off. Neither Dionysus nor this man from the sarcophagus says anything as you all depart. And we will fade the scene as you chase after this group. Because I need a break. So we return to Canterbury following Robert, seeking answers for his ghoul and seeking answers to this these brothers, the McNallys, and what they might be up to. So your goal, as I recall, was to try and corner one of the thugs that you saw at the tavern when you first came here. The ones that were kind of eyeing you over.
Mm-hmm.
Despite Cornelius's multiple warnings that drawing attention of these men may be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Describe to me your strategy in staking out this inn and how you want to go about, in as much detail as possible, how you want to go about this.
Okay, so I guess the first question I would ask is, how far can I be to use Invade the Mind?
That's a good question. Let me reread the rules I have on it.
And I don't really see any rules for distance, so
Yeah.
maybe there's like a general rule for distance for disciplines, but...
Let me review it, because I didn't think about that. Which does not give you a pass. Okay. It says absolutely nothing about this. What do you think is fair?
What did we have for Obtenebration in the previous game? For Arms of Ahriman. Let's see. Oh, yeah, there's actually in there. You said like multiple successes could apply to longer range. Remember that when we're fighting the Nosferatu?
Must be within 20 feet or 7 meters of the caster. That seems reasonable to me. 20 feet.
Okay.
About the distance of one corner of a bedroom to the other.
Alright, so
you won't be able to do this from like across the street.
yeah. Well, the plan I would have is to, wait till they're leaving from a bar or something, or maybe one of them just comes out. If they're in a group, like, invade the mind of one, have them, like, tell their friends they're going to go take a piss, and then, obviously, while they're pissing, get to them, use the discipline of... So as I pull up its name again. Either entrancement if I get him solo. I may have to use majesty if like something goes horribly wrong and like their buddies decide to come and check on them. But entrancement, get them to obey him, make that one follow him to the tower, and that would be it for that one.
Alright, and at the beginning you said you're going to be inside the tavern waiting for them to arrive?
No, not inside the tavern. The plan was to watch them from across the street, or at least like where it's reasonable, like they would never spot him. Yeah.
So you identify them from the darkness of across the street, and then you go in after them?
Yeah.
Okay. So...
If it has to be decently close, though, like maybe like there's a rooftop he can wait on and wait for them to come out. Should be well within range, yeah.
Do you want to wait on a rooftop?
I would say that would probably be the least chance of being noticed, because they probably wouldn't look up, and it would get him close enough to invade the mind of one of them to have him go into a dark alleyway.
If they stay long enough. If they're going in the tavern, you're not going to have a whole lot of time. So you need them to loiter outside for some reason.
Yeah. Well, the first would be to watch them and see how long they stay. I can't imagine them staying until dawn, although that is not impossible. And I assume their guard would be dropped considerably after a night of drinking, so that would be the best time to strike, not when they first enter the tavern.
Alright, so here's what I'm going to have you do. I won't have you roll to get up to the roof. You're a vampire, so it's really just a matter of time until you find a way up. You're not going to tire, you're not going to get very much hurt. So it's really just a matter of time, and you're pretty dexterous. Eventually you'll get up there. So you're up on this rooftop, looking down on this tavern, which you watched before. You know that that's where they went in the past. And it takes you a while. It takes you maybe a week and change before you finally see, thanks to your heightened senses only, you see one of the familiar faces. And it looks like he's going in with one of his friends. You think maybe they were there also. And as described before, they're tall, burly-looking men, somewhat obese. Certainly more brawlers than warriors or knights. Clad mostly in cheap linen and leathers. A couple of short swords. So you see a couple of them wander in, and of course they're not staying around long enough for you to invade their mind. And it is early in the evening when you see them come in. It's about 6 hours later when they start to leave. And it's maybe close to 2 or 3 in the morning, so it's not dawn, it is late. And the two of them are leaving. It doesn't look like they're stopping to say long goodbyes or anything. They're both leaving together.
That would be the time to invade their mind, then. At least one of them. In that short window.
Alright, you're going to have a very short window. I will let you try and roll.
Alright.
Do you remember the roll?
Yep, I'm getting it now. Or I should say, no, I don't remember it exactly. Anyway.
That's okay, I don't remember it either, and I don't have it
What's his willpower?
Target willpower is going to be a 4.
Okay.
Alright, 6
So-
successes.
Since he has 4 willpower, he believes the thought to be his own.
Let's see. I think I'm going to add 2 difficulty to this because you're doing it very quickly. What would that make your successes?
Let's see.
That's still
It
4
would be
successes.
6. Or, I mean, not 6, but yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right, 6. Not, yeah.
That'd be 5.
Okay, that's still good enough. I think it's still gonna. I think he's still gonna think it's coming from him. All right. So you have enough time to put in. You aren't going to be able to dig for very long, so you could put in a brief thought to do something out of the ordinary, maybe.
He's gonna send in his mind the image of, or the feeling of needing to take a piss. And he'll wish his friend a good night, tell him he's going to go around the corner and take a piss.
He tells his friend that he's gonna go take a piss and starts to go off in a different direction. His friend actually ends up waiting there on the street corner for him. And as he starts to turn and walk away, he kind of stops in his tracks and turns around. And you have enough of a connection briefly for him, for his thoughts to kind of pass into your thoughts. He thinks to himself, that's strange. I pissed myself in the tavern. I don't have to piss anymore. I don't know why I thought I did. And he turns around and goes back to his friend, kind of shrugging. You can put these thoughts in their head, but does not actually compel them to act on them.
Oh, fair enough. Then with this failure, another plan will have to be made. I'll let them go unmolested for the rest of the night.
Okay. Back to the proverbial drawing board. What else will Robert try and accomplish?
Alright, plan B. In the city, what does the population of whores look like?
Population of whores in Canterbury. Despite being a very holy city with many fine churches and the most dominant archbishopric in all of England, the brothel industry is still alive and well in Canterbury. There are still several places you could go to sate your hunger in that way.
Well, his goal will be, at this point, to get acquainted with one. Bring them under his sway. Even blood bond if it has to. Starting with presence. Just charm them. And when another night comes when these men enter into the bar, and Robert sees this happening. He'll go and fetch this, I guess, newly blood bonded individual and have them lure one of them out.
Alright, and just so I can keep this in my own mind and just so you have it down, the tavern which you're stalking or staking out is the Perro. And this is the one that you keep waiting for them to come back to. And the one you found them in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to make you roll because you have ridiculous dice for entrancement and you have time on your side, you're not rushed. So of course you do eventually find a fine prostitute from a brothel known as the Old Butter Market. And it doesn't take you long to get her wrapped around your finger. And in no time at all, you have her bloodbound as well. So that's not a problem at all. What do you give her as far as instructions or information about these men or what she has to do?
Jeez. I guess first, is there like a... I assume there wouldn't be a law against this, but just to make sure, like, I want to go into this situation fully prepared. What negative consequences could happen from just having her, just prospect to them, and if she's able to hook one, then bam, plan's good to go.
I'm just taking some notes down. So you were asking what is the potential negative outcome of just telling her to go solicit to one of these men?
Yeah, he has law, so if you need like a roll before, but yeah.
Oh, like legal ramifications for prostitution and such?
Yeah, something like that. I completely assume this is completely fine, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah, sure. Give me an intelligence law. Standard difficulty. Oh yeah, 5 successes. You know this woman is free to solicit so long as it is not on the same street as a church or a cathedral or any place of worship. So this brothel or this tavern, the Perro, is far enough away that she's actually not even the only one working to gain some customers, some freelance prostitutes as it were. So you don't expect any legal ramifications for her trying to get any business here. And her name is Heather Hurley. For whatever value this kind has to you, you now know her name.
Okay. Then with the original plan, I'll wait for a chance to set it in motion.
Alright, let me think about that. she is successful. She ends up going into one of these taverns on your recommendation that she find one of these men that you describe and solicit her wares to him. As I don't know what explanation you give her, maybe telling her that he'd be an easy mark or an easy customer, so to speak.
That's accurate enough.
And so you're still watching from outside up on this rooftop?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's kind of out of game knowledge. You don't really know what happens, right? Because she goes in and she doesn't come out for a few hours. What do you want to do when you realize she's not coming out?
He'll enhance his hearing and see if he can hear her inside the building, because I'm sure he's quite attuned to her voice now.
That's very good. Got perception alertness, difficulty 7. You gotta listen through some floorboards and distinguish.
Mm-hmm.
You also gotta hope that she's not the silent type. Three successes. It takes you some time kind of snooping, not so much walking across and like looking into windows, but listening across the floorboards as you're a couple stories up on top of this tavern, which seems to have a few rooms, and eventually kind of keeping your ear close to the floorboards of the ceiling and the upper level, you do hear a high enough frequency of a voice that you think this is Heather, and you tune in to the room that she's probably in. Based on the sounds of intimacy, at least.
Mm-hmm. Can you pinpoint a window? And how high up is he?
Fortunately, you do believe there's a window, because when you get close enough, you can kind of hear the sound almost coming outside, and you realize that the window's actually open. It would be a matter of grace to get inside, but it's actually much clearer once you get over to the right corner of the building. You think you're right above them. There's some light kind of coming through the shutters of the window, which has it's mostly open, but it's like wooden panels.
All right, and how high up is this room? Like, would a fall or a jump significantly injure anyone?
Yeah, like I said, you're a couple stories up. You'd probably be fine. Most other people are going to get hurt pretty badly. They probably wouldn't die from this height, though. Or break some legs just to be good height.
Looking around, is there anything that could possibly be used to break a fall that could quickly be placed? Nothing that would take a long amount of time?
No, it's stone beneath.
Mm.
Cobblestone.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Then at this point, he will attempt to gracefully leap through this window. Surprise the man, and he's going to quickly go for a hold and then a kiss. And of course, blood will be spent ahead of time of this to make sure this goes over smoothly.
Okay. So first I'm just going to need a Dex Athletics difficulty 7 for you to get from the roof of this building and swing in from the edge of the rooftop in through the window into the room.
Okay. I'm sorry, what was the difficulty?
7. Dex Athletics. Did you roll?
I kept forgetting to add my celerity.
1 success. Alright. It's messy, and you're not as fast as you want to be. You almost slip off, but you manage to catch your foot on the edge of the windowsill and you pull the rest of yourself in that way. Like I said, it's not a very clean move, so by the time you get in quick enough to see, of course, Heather is entirely nude at this point, and she's kind of a pale tall brunette woman, and this big burly man is in between her legs. She's on her back on the bed, and he sees you come in, and they're mid-action when you come in, and at first he yells in surprise, and he turns around. You see that there's a hand axe leaned up against the wall. Looks like he's gonna turn to get that in a couple of seconds. The woman, Heather, yells just out of surprise, but then sees you and seems to calm down, but still surprised a little bit. She seems to be unsure what's going on.
Robert is not wasting any time to allow this man to grab a weapon. He will rush forward, using celerity, if need be, to make sure he is able to grapple this man.
Alright, using celerity to grapple the man.
Yeah, to grapple the man and then quickly respond with a kiss.
Okay. Are you spending blood to do an extra action in the next 3 seconds?
Yes.
Okay. So you can do that. Go ahead and roll your strength brawl. You get -1 dice, but difficulty is the same, standard difficulty. He's a big guy, and you're not a very strong guy, unfortunately. And so he shrugs you off. And of course, he's fully naked, but that seems not to bother him at all. So you get shoved off by this man as he kind of pushes you away briefly and grabs his hand axe. And now he's turning and he's gonna strike at you.
There's still one more action. Since the grapple didn't work, is it possible to do something else?
Yes.
In this case, he'll draw his own blade and strike at this man.
Alright, this can be at -2 dice. Dex melee. He does not have any armor on because he has nothing on at all. Okay, it connects. Roll your damage.
Okay.
Alright, of course he's not going to soak this. He's just a person, and he has nothing on. So you do 2 lethal to him as you stab at him with your sword. Go ahead and describe Robert.
Robert grunts in frustration after being thrown off, but quicker than humanly possible, his weapon is out and he is slashing this man, this large man, attempting to wound him enough to where this man can no longer fight back and is no longer a threat.
He is hurt now, and he yells out in pain as your sword cuts him, and it's much more visible than in any other time, precisely what your blade has done to his flesh. You've cut open at his side, and spurted blood somewhat onto the floor and onto the bed, and actually onto Heather herself. And she yells in panic and runs to the corner of the room, hiding, making herself small, as this man finishes yelling and tries to strike at you, although he is hurt. So this is going to be -1.
And in anticipation for this strike, Robert will parry and use celerity to return another strike of his own.
Alright, you will be at -1 dice for your parry. It's got 2 successes. Alright, there's not going to be a parry, so you are going to take damage, although with your celerity action you'll be able to hit him also. Go ahead and roll your soak. Try again.
Whoops. Yeah, that didn't go through.
Alright, so you take a lethal as this man turns around with his hatchet. He's a big burly man, even though you've wounded him. He hefts pretty hard with his hand axe into your neck. But fortunately, it doesn't go very far and your undead body resists it. You do take a lethal as he starts to chop into you. And the woman, Heather, is just screaming bloody murder, making a big fuss as he's yelling and she's yelling. There's blood flying. Make a perception alertness, difficulty 7, since you're distracted. Alright, you hear the sound of voices and footsteps. Heavy footsteps, lots of them, and coming up the stairs quickly. Somebody's coming.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how long, but pretty soon.
Well, Robert knows whatever, like, this has been an abysmal failure. He did not expect this man to be so sturdy. At this point, though, he cannot be seen, so he will seek to end this man's life at this point. And as he takes this axe into the neck, he will focus on killing this man.
Okay. Oh, you had an extra action. You didn't strike him yet.
Yeah, this strike's coming now. Yep.
Yeah.
-2 dice, you said?
It is now, yes. Alright, 3 successes. That's 2 extra your damage. Alright, 3 lethal. On top of his... what did I say, 2?
Mm-hmm.
He's down to 5 lethal. Where does he stab him? Because this is going to be a severe cut to the man.
Well, he just takes his blade and just draws it across the guy's chest, making him bleed profusely as he has struck true.
Yeah, he is now down and mauled. He is very brutally wounded. Your sword cut deep. He's at 5 lethal. He's gonna try and run away because he's scared. He's not a brave knight, and you're not dying from that axe to the neck. That's strange. He's terrified. He doesn't want to die. He's gonna try and run away. He will not fight to the death, not against whatever you are.
As this man turns his back, Robert will strike at this opportunity. Is that 2 extra die?
Yes.
Okay.
He is at -2, and you got no successes, so you just need to get any, because he's not getting very far with the wounds you've given him. He's kind of limping away pathetically. He's dropped his axe. He's trying to pull himself against a wall, making a big bloody mess on the wall and the floor, getting to the door. He hasn't reached it yet.
All right. Robert will spend another blood point for a celerity action.
Okay.
His first action will be to finish this man off with another blade strike into the back of this man, and then his other action will be to grab Heather and jump out of the window with her, obviously taking any fall shock, and begin fleeing the scene.
Okay, let's resolve your attack first. It's probably the easiest part of this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you're at -1 since you're celerity, but it should be child's play to finish this poor man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just need to roll really any damage to put him down at this point.
Dice don't fail me now.
Oh yeah, you eviscerate this man from behind. Couldn't describe him.
Robert just takes a massive slash at the spine of this man, clearly severing parts of flesh and muscle and bone. And as he makes this fatal blow and registers it in his mind, he quickly runs to grab Heather.
Okay.
And go ahead.
Well, here's where it gets tough. Picking up a woman is going to be a feat of strength, even if she's bloodbound to you, she's entranced, she loves you and trusts you, she's scared. She's not going to fight you, but you are picking up a woman, so that's going to be difficult. I'm going to say you're going to need at least 4 strength to just pick her up and carry her.
And he's at 4 strength for the blood he spent.
Okay, fair enough. So then you just need to... You grab her. You go barreling out this window, trying to take the fall for her.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I'm going to need a Dex Athletics difficulty 8 to guide this fall with her in your hands so that only you really take the fall.
Okay.
As you carry this bloody, naked prostitute out of this window from the man you just murdered.
Any loss of dice for this being a celerity action?
Yes, because your second action, you're going to be at -2.
Okay.
It was supposed to be difficulty 8. But that's
In
still
that
one
case,
success.
1 success.
Okay. So you do it, but you're going to take a level of bashing damage, which you can soak. You probably will soak it. Okay, you soak it. This definitely would not have been good if you were not already undead. With this falling out of this window, not very gracefully, and having this woman's weight on top of you, although she's fairly thin, it's still a person. And so she falls on you, of course, and she's yelling the whole time. But you do it. You land kind of in this back alley between 2 rows of streets, mostly bars and homes, cottages. So you're kind of in between these rows, so it's very dark back here. And she seems very alarmed and terrified. She doesn't know why you did that or what's happening. She thinks you're some kind of monster, like Satan himself, after what she just saw.
She's screaming the whole time.
Yeah, she's terrified. She thinks you're Satan.
Well, as soon as they jump out the window, he obviously will try to silence her, put a hand over her mouth, something of that nature, and whisper in her ear to calm down as he continues fleeing the scene.
Only because you spent the time to blood bond her in a trancer does this work at all. But you can tell she's crying and sobbing as you carry her naked form through the streets. And she seems to be letting you carry her, but you can tell this woman's just truly traumatized by the entire night and what she just saw.
No surprise there. He'll clearly stick to darker alleyways, and his goal will be, assuming he has a decent map of the city now, how possible would it be to get over to the manor without having to pass a guard checkpoint?
Not guard checkpoints per se, more guards in general, as there are a good number of them in this city. And it is very difficult, even with a very compliant bloody naked woman, to get through the streets of Canterbury and not draw attention. I'm going to need a Dexterity Athletics difficulty 9 to get back to that manor without being found.
Well, okay. Thinking that it would be very difficult with crowded streets, he will opt instead to look for a house that he could perhaps procure some clothes for her at this moment.
Make a wits alertness for me. Standard difficulty.
Okay.
Alright, 1 success. Good enough. I'll spare you another house murder and let you know you could give her the cloak on your shoulders, and that would probably suffice just to cover her. She wouldn't be obviously nude, and she wouldn't be obviously bloodied.
Well, hey, if no blood got on the cloak, then indeed. Although, does he have blood on his own person?
There is some blood. What's the color of your cloak?
Green.
You think it probably would do better than the sight of a naked, bloody woman as opposed to a somewhat stained green cloak. Probably easier to pass off. Especially in
Alright, we'll avoid a house murder. Alright. He'll drape his cloak over this poor woman and escort her back to the manor to explain what happened. Very, very much dreading this conversation.
You're explaining this to her?
When he gets her someplace safe, not on the streets.
Okay, she's trembling the whole way, of course, and by the time you get there, you can see, she's sweating and exhausted. Her eyes are bloodshot from crying, and her face is just a mess. She's obviously very much shooken up by all of this. What do you explain happened? Because all she knew was that you told her to go and pick out this man you thought would be a good customer that she could make some good money off of. The next thing she knows is that you flew in from the window and then started stabbing this man at impossible speed, and then you picked her up and jumped out of a window. So she actually thinks that you are some kind of monster right now. Although she loves you, she further believes that this is the devil's work.
Robert will smell her. Is there any sign of alcohol, anything of that nature on her?
There is. Your senses are heightened enough that if you wanted to, you could smell some alcohol on her. Not much. Whatever she had, she's sobered up by now. But there's some.
Huh. Yeah, interesting.
You think that maybe she spent some time carousing this man, and they may have shared drinks there or perhaps in the room.
Well, I kind of want to make a very convincing lie that perhaps something, well, I don't know, maybe something more was put in her drink to make her see such strange sights. That it was much less supernatural than what she saw.
Okay. You want to convince her that whatever she had to drink was too much, and you weren't moving quite that fast, and it wasn't that high out of a building. Really, anybody could make that fall.
Yeah, he's going to shoot for that.
Okay. The only reason I'm going to let you try this is because she is bloodbound to you and entranced. You get any chance at this at all.
Yeah, I completely get that.
Manipulation, subterfuge, difficulty 9. What's your humanity, by the way?
It's actually enough for that to be a sin.
I was thinking that.
5. Humanity. Okay, that didn't work.
Do you have any specialties here?
For subterfuge, no, not really.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it was a stretch, right? Even for someone that devoted to you. She doesn't... It's not that she is running from you or trying to attack you, or maybe doesn't even hate you, but definitely fears you. And although she nods along, trembling and weeping intermittently, you don't think she believes this story you're telling. And as far as your humanity, let me see. You are there. And impassioned violation. I'm not going to say this is outright murder. You didn't mean to kill him. You just had to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
So I will give you a level 4 sin. Difference of 1. So this is going to be a conscience roll, difficulty 7, because the difference is 1 from your sin and your rating. So conscience difficulty 7. No success. This is a little bit too cold-blooded for even you. And you find that the means you're going to are getting a little bit more extreme over time, but maybe that's okay. How does he think about this most recent act of survival?
Although it's not what he intended, that this man, what he did to Guy, was certainly justified in taking his life, and that is what Robert believes.
It was justified. He did far worse to Guy than relatively quick death that he got. He's better off anyway. So you think. As you slip further. So the woman, Heather, continues to tremble until she eventually falls asleep, you think out of some combination of shock and exhaustion. And fortunately, Cornelius is out tonight, and you have a room at his manor, so he isn't present to deal with any of this. But you don't know how he's going to take this if he does find out. Any last actions Robert wants to make tonight?
Or just the night itself, not especially. I guess he'll wait with Heather until she wakes up. That's about the only thing he'll do as he gets her set in a bed.
All right. So the scene fades on you putting this prostitute into bed as she tries to sleep off the nightmare which she was privy to, hoping against hope that it was just a nightmare. And at that, the scene will fade, and we will end the session here since we're at 9, and pick it up next week. Interesting turn of events right at the end there, Robert.
RNG did not smile upon me this day.
It didn't smile upon a lot of people. How are y'all doing?
I'm still here.
Still existent?
Aye.
Alright. Well, rough game for sure. PC death is never easy, but is a dangerous game for sure. Still, I would like to do some entertaining role players. I think that's deserved at least. We'll start with Elined.
If I give mine to Cormac, does it go to his new character?
Absolutely.
Yes. I give mine to Cormac.
Alright, and Cormac?
I'm gonna give it to Elined because what she did during that fight was awesome.
I will say what she did to Ludovico turned the tide significantly. Just keeping him restrained, even if he was able to withstand the damage, was a huge impact on the Giovanni's ability to command the dead. So that was definitely creative. And Robert.
I'm going to give it to Cormac for the fight and just the loss of willpower and losing limbs itself really made the situation gripping and dire.
Yeah, that was tense. Okay. Well, very dramatic game. I will be around to talk about it throughout the week, and we will pick it up again next week.